What's been going on with Jaylen Brown? The former Finals MVP player has popped up a few times on the Celtics injury report. So I want to break down the latest on what we know about Jaylen Brown ahead of tonight's game and ahead of all the games that we had to come here, because not having Jaylen Brown is a huge loss for the Boston Celtics. It feels like you're kind of missing your best friend when you go to school. That feeling. Well, you got Jason Tatum and Derek White, Holiday, and Al Horford. Still missing Kristaps Porzingis, but when you don't have those five, it just feels like the Celtics aren't as strong as they could be, which is, let's be honest, already pretty much stronger than anybody in the NBA. So just to recap how many games Jaylen Brown has been out so far, and let me just preface, this isn't as many games to sound the alarm yet, right? This is just 2 games in the regular season at the beginning of the NBA year. This isn't anything to press the panic button about just yet. He was out against the Hornets. Hell, you could start our whole starting 5 and we still might have a great game against the Hornets. But then he was out against the Hawks, which I was like, okay, now this is 2 back-to-back games. Well, then the injury report came out and he has now been announced to be out for the Golden State Warriors game. And this is where I was like, okay, something's going on pretty serious with JB, because we knew well, at least in my mind, I know he wants to play Steve Kerr. I mean, the guy was just snubbed from Team USA. Who was the head coach of Team USA? Steve Kerr. And for the Boston Celtics, who just won the NBA Finals, this is a nice little 2022 rematch of the Finals. The Warriors won that round. Now the Celtics have won one. So it's going to be a good rematch, but without Jaylen Brown this time. So what's been going on? Brown has a left hip flexor strain. So he's been talking about it to a couple of analysts, just said that, it feels like his legs are just completely underneath him when he's been playing so far through the first 6 games. But Joe Mazzulla gave us an update ahead of the Warriors game on what's been going on with Jaylen Brown. He's doing well. It's a strain. So he's working really hard in treatment every day and just kind of working to get back at it. So not concerned. And I don't think he is either. So that's the key here. Not concerned. Do not press the panic button just yet. Not to mention, the same way we've seen Kristaps Porzingis ahead of a few games, even though he's been out, Jaylen Brown was seen taking shots ahead of the Atlanta Hawks game. Not a lot of jump in his jumper, obviously. Doesn't want to strain that hip any more than he already has. But he is still being active. He is still being mobile. Probably no contact. I would say I'm not in rehab with him, so I'm not sure exactly the exercises that he is doing. But as long as Joe Mazzulla isn't concerned and Jaylen Brown isn't concerned, then why should we be concerned? But I'll tell you what we should be is we should be good fans. And we should go on ahead and give him some love if he's on YouTube, if he checks out this video. I just want him to see in the comment section down below that we love him, we miss him, we want him to be healthy. Spam your 7s in the comment section. I mean, this is our previous Finals MVP we're talking about here. Go on ahead, give JB some love in the comment section down below. Gary Washburn also talked a little bit about what Jaylen Brown has gone through to determine what's been going on in his lower body. Brown told Washburn that he had an MRI for the flexor 2 weeks ago. And he's planning to get another one in the next few days. The first MRI revealed some fluid, Brown said, as that has affected his game through the opening weeks. And the minute I read that last sentence, I'm like, what do you mean affected? The man is averaging 26 points a game. I would love to see Jaylen Brown without fluid in his hips. My God. He's over here nearly getting a double-double with 7.2 rebounds per game. He's got about 4 assists per game. All right, his shooting, not the best. Not to mention, I didn't even put his three-point percentage in here because it's at 26%. So obviously there's some ebb and flow, but now we've got a reason for maybe why his three-point shot was falling is because he's got fluid in his hips. So he's going to get that next MRI to really determine what's been going on with him. But it sucks because you want everybody to be healthy, and you want the only person on the injury report right now to be Porzingis because he's technically just going through the rehabilitation process. But this doesn't seem like something that's going to linger any more than it already has for Jaylen Brown, but it's good to honestly get this stuff out of the way early than in May, in just my opinion. But I'm going to talk about why there may be a little positive spin to Jaylen Brown's injury in just 1 second. But first things first, let me tell you guys about our sponsor here. Let's talk about Prize Picks. If you guys want to test your skills in the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America, then download Prize Picks. If you guys want to join over 10 million active users, including myself and producer Joey here, well, download Prize Picks. And if you guys want to win up to 100 times your cash with as little as 4 correct picks, guess what? Download Prize Picks. Once you've downloaded it, here's how you play. Just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you got to do minimum 2 players, maximum 6 players. That's it. 50-50, just pick more or less on what you think that player is going to do in that game for that evening. And that's it. You can win some money. You can also play in over 30 different states across America, including Georgia, Cali, Texas, and Florida. So if you guys want to go ahead and test your skills, then download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. What about the Celtics game, right? The Celtics, who have 1 loss so far in this season, and they're still playing without Kristaps Porzingis, and they have now played without Jaylen Brown for 2 games. And I just think that when we truly look at this as a whole, they're so good. They're so good. Yes, you may be missing a player. We saw that in the playoffs last year. No Kristaps Porzingis. It stung. I'm not going to lie. It was hard to play without Porzingis. But guess what? They did it, and they still won the highest game at the highest level in the NBA, which is the NBA Finals. Now they're doing it again, playing through injuries, playing without Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics are still blowing teams out. This is what I mean by the Celtics are the best team in the NBA. Record-wise? No. Statistics-wise? Maybe not. But roster-wise? Hell yes. Because Boston is actually undefeated when they're playing without Jaylen Brown. And that's not a stat that you guys should look at as a snub to JB. It's a stat that you guys should think, my God, Brad Stevens is a genius, and he crafted a team that complements each other so well that if you are down a Brown, a Tatum, a White, a Holiday, a Porzingis, you still have the perfect amount of guys on that court to be able to win you ball games. It may not be as smooth as it could be with possibly having Jaylen Brown back in there, but it doesn't mean win or lose. You don't have Giannis, you're probably losing. You don't have Jalen Brunson, it's going to be hard. You're probably not going to win. That's what I meant when I said that thing about Giannis. But JB being out is kind of, and take this with a grain of salt here, kind of a good thing for other players on the bench. No, we do not want Jaylen Brown to be injured. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a positive twist to this in the sense that JB being on the bench will allow several other players to have their shining moment here in terms of just getting more reps, getting more minutes in as well. And when it comes to mind, I think of a few players off the top of my head here, and I like to think that the bench, you got your Pritchards, you've got your Hausers, we know they're always there, but guys that can get a little bit more action under their belt, for example, Neemias Queta, Luke Cornett, Xavier Tillman, Jordan Walsh. These are guys that won't get as many minutes because you've got somebody like Jaylen Brown in there, and these are Jordan Walsh has been a pivotal piece around the post in terms of being a wing. Neemias Queta is upping his blocks per game. Luke Cornett is figuring out how to be a better rim protector. Xavier Tillman is also learning how to play as big as Neemias and now Horford is. And I want to talk about Neemias Queta here just for a moment because I don't think he's getting the credit that he deserves. Because Jaylen Brown was out of the starting lineup against the Atlanta Hawks, they shifted the starting lineup again, and they allowed Kristaps Porzingis, who's normally the 5, to be replaced by Neemias Queta, and Horford took over the 4, which is normally Jaylen Brown's spot. And Mazzulla said, when you are as good as he can be, we've got to hold him to that standard every single night. He could be a real asset for us towards the season. He works very hard. He cares. He wants to be coached. He's starting to realize how good he really can be. And you saw that in his confidence when he started against Atlanta. Jaylen Brown's not injured. Neemias Queta doesn't get that start. So I think that this is a good test for the Celtics down the line because injuries happen, guys. And while this doesn't seem to be anything to be concerned about in terms of Jaylen Brown, I do think that it's allowing other players to flourish because this team is built of beautiful superstars that need to have their shining moment. And that's where I think Neemias Queta does come in. So regardless, if Jaylen Brown does end up coming back into this lineup this week or very, very soon, do you guys think should Neemias Queta have a bigger role? Type Y for yes, type N for no. And as always, we will be live tonight going up against the Golden State Warriors. Maybe a Tatum revenge game. We'll have to wait and see. But you guys, if you want any injury updates on Jaylen Brown or Kristaps Porzingis, all you guys have to do is subscribe.